I'm Phil Addison. I'm the manager of third-party cyber risk management with some leadership in our enterprise third-party risk management at the Hershey company. We are one of the US's and the world's largest and most successful snacking manufacturers. Lots of iconic brands: Reese's, Hershey's, Hershey Kisses, Dots Pretzels, Icebreakers gum, and One Brand's protein, and a whole lot of other products that are fairly common on the shelves. So goals for our third-party team are the same as really any risk management function, where we aim to provide actionable risk intelligence and actionable risk insights to our decision makers. With our third-party risk program, that's centered around our third-party infrastructure. Our pre-scorecard environment, we did not have cyber insights on all of the third parties that went through assessment. We don't send an assessment to every single one of our third parties. It would just get too cumbersome at that point. So there was a subset of our vendor and third-party landscape that we just did not have cyber insights to. And we realized that we need cyber insights here, even if we're not going to assess that vendor with our questionnaire process. Our enterprise program is a fairly young program. So for metrics, we're really looking at the percentage of our vendor landscape that we cover. We're measuring time to assess, and we're reporting some basic risk metrics up into procurement. From the cyber side, we are a little bit more mature than the enterprise program, but again, we're looking at a lot of the same metrics: coverage, time to assess, risk-related metrics, so likelihoods, impacts, and we kind of measure vendors against each other a little bit, and not in a competitive way, but just to understand what are the trends that we're seeing in our overall risk exposure. We evaluated SecurityScorecard. We evaluated a couple of SecurityScorecard's competitors, and the ultimate decision was that SecurityScorecard was the best fit capability for what we were trying to implement from a continuous monitoring perspective. Outside of the scoring and the continuous monitoring, there's the breach notifications were a huge part of the decision-making process, and then the internal self-monitoring was a huge part of that decision process. And one of the things that we saw where SecurityScorecard kind of played above the competitors was in the vendor hierarchies. When we first looked at our vendor hierarchy in SecurityScorecard versus some of the competitors, SecurityScorecard's wasn't just the most accurate, it was almost perfect. We're using SecurityScorecard in a number of ways. Primarily, it's third-party risk, gaining cyber insights into our vendor ecosystem. We've also integrated it into some of our other information security processes. Incident response, breach notifications from SecurityScorecard automatically trigger. The automation is more of a process than an actual technical automation, but the SecurityScorecard alerts do trigger incident response and SOC activity to investigate, triage, and develop any appropriate responses to third-party breaches. Same thing for zero-day announcements and things like that. We've integrated SecurityScorecard a bit into our vulnerability management, where when we're tracking some critical vulnerabilities, we use SecurityScorecard to help determine whether or not we are publicly exposed via that vulnerability, and also if some of our critical vendors may be publicly exposed through that vulnerability. And then our exposure management team and our SOC will work with those vendors to let them know, hey, we have this discovery. Let's collaborate to make sure that we as a business partnership are okay, and reducing the level of risk that we're seeing. More recently, we are starting to integrate SecurityScorecard data into our threat management and more closely into our exposure management. So from a threat perspective, we found that a few of the signals are valuable to the threat management team to fulfill some capabilities that they're looking to implement over the course of the year. And the same goes for exposure management, just understanding where are we vulnerable as Hershey and where are we vulnerable from our third-party ecosystem. The Security Scorecard absolutely has helped us mature our third-party risk management program. Going back to something I said earlier, we are now able to get some modicum of cyber insights for 100% of our third parties that come through the third-party risk management process, regardless of if we're going to enable continuous monitoring for them permanently or send them a survey. So we have the ability to get cyber insights into every single third party that we do business with. It's also significantly reduced the workload. I am a one-man shop from a third-party cyber risk management side. It's reduced the amount of time that I am spending doing things like researching open source intelligence. So we're getting more cyber risk informed decision making earlier on in the procurement and vendor selection processes. The richness of the insights has led to us being able to give better risk intelligence to our business partners. Our data privacy team is finding a lot of good insights with just understanding where cybersecurity impacts data privacy, because again, I don't think there's a single data privacy regulatory framework out there that does not include some cybersecurity matters in it. From a mergers and acquisitions perspective, we've been able to make some better informed decision making around some of our recent mergers and acquisitions based on the data that SecurityScorecard is providing. The richness of the data and the insights has been absolutely great. It's 100% value add, and I think there's some decisions that we've been able to make from a cyber perspective that we would not have been able to make as efficiently without some of those insights.